Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chairman Hochberg, I was a very mediocre lawyer in a previous life, but I was mediocre for a long time, which means I got to watch lots and lots of juries. And I look in 2012 and I see that 330 members of Congress voted to reauthorize the bank. And now I'll talk to my colleagues, and trust me when I tell you this, it's on life support. So how in the course of 3 years could you go from a 3-to-1 majority in the people's house and it be on life support? What happened?
Sir, I'm not sure I'm in the position to answer that question.
If you can't answer that question, then you might as well call the coroner. But you're the one that people are going to be looking to. So let's start with this. 2012, but you will agree with me, there are three categories of folks generally. There are folks who are going to be opposed to the reauthorization for very principled reasons, many of whom are my friends. They've made up their minds. And they're going to be folks who are going to vote for reauthorization no matter what, no matter how many indictments, no matter how many anything. And then there's a big group in the middle that would like to vote for reauthorization, provided there was some reforms. And that's the group in 2012 that gave you a 330-person vote. So I think what they're looking for is, how are you doing on the reforms? How'd you do for the last 3 years on the legally mandated reforms? Do you agree that Chairman Hensarling is a reasonable person who would be open to factual persuasion?
He's smiling. I'll let the chairman decide that question.
No, well, I mean, I'm asking you, because you got Chairman Hensarling, you got Chairman Ryan, you got Kevin McCarthy, all of whom, even though I'm on the opposite side of the issue from them, I find them to be open to factual persuasion, or at least give me an audience, at least let me make the case. So what is the case that you did what Congress asked you to do in 2012?
Well, when I was here just 2 weeks ago, I enumerated every reform that was put in the 2012, and I enumerated, I'm happy to do again, each report and each change that was asked for and the date we did that. So we have complied with each and every reform of the 2012 Reauthorization Act.
All right, I want to just start with one reform that I remember a lot of my colleagues discussed, which is the eventual goal of winding down the Ex-Im Bank.
That responsibility was given to the Secretary of the Treasury.
Who, by the way, was among the most dreadful witnesses I have ever had the displeasure of hearing testimony. And he honestly, right now, is the best argument against reauthorization. So I'm glad that he's not with you. Can you make the case that Treasury has done what we've asked, that it's a high priority that all the banks be wound down?
Well, I can say the following, sir. I'm actually I met with my colleagues just about a month ago, meeting with some more colleagues in the next 10 days to talk about exactly that subject, because I've decided I take the will of Congress seriously. I am talking to my colleagues about what do we do about winding this down?
Well, you can count as well as I can count. And 330 was a good, strong vote. And now we're struggling to get to 218. And if you do get to 218 this time, and the reforms are not implemented that lots of my colleagues want to see implemented, then it won't even be close in a couple of years. So I don't mean to put undue pressure on you, but the fellow from the Treasury is not going to help unless they send somebody else from the Treasury. That one is not going to help. You're going to have to make the case sometime between now and the expiration date of how you are doing what Congress asked you to do in 2012.
Well, all the reforms that this committee has asked us to do at Ex-Im Bank, and there were more than a dozen, we have complied with, whether it's the Federal Register, whether it's the default report to Congress, whether it's an expansion in textiles. Each one of those reforms I enumerated at this committee hearing 15 days ago.
All right, Mr. Chairman.
One in the Treasury Department is outside of my authority.
I'm with you, but you and I are watching the jury together, and we've gone from 330 to life support. So we can quarrel and quibble over whose responsibility that is. Maybe the Treasury, may not be the Treasury, but you got to make a really compelling case between now and the expiration date, or we may not get to 218.
Well, we do have Congressman Fincher has a bill with close to 60 co-sponsors. Ranking Member Waters has a bill with 190 co-sponsors. There's 250 on those two different bills. They're not identical, but 250 co-sponsors between those two bills, just to start with.
Gentleman's time has expired.
Yes, sir.